We are middle of September, heading very fast into our fourth quarter. And I thought this would be a good time to kind of put that second half push on to gear up for the fourth quarter, not let the holiday festivities get in our way. It's good to enjoy those festivities, but at the same time, we do want to keep working. There's opportunities to be had, and we want to use the fourth quarter to set up our first quarter. So, and there's a saying that champions are made in the second half. You'll see that like the best football teams, they could be falling behind in the first half of the game, but halftime they kind of regroup, and then the second half they come out even stronger, and they can win the game. And that is how champions work. They're never afraid of being down in the first half because they know that they've got time, they can make it up, they can regroup, and that's kind of what we want to do here, gearing up for the fourth quarter. So what I wanted to do is I want to start off with some quick wins. All right. Because I think, we all have wins, right? And what happens is that momentum is built on small wins that stack daily, right? And that's what we have to account for that each and every day. And that's why I tell people all the time, especially new agents, that you just have to continually do the right things day in and day out, and you'll find that things are happening. And if things are not happening for you, you got to look at what you're doing and change it up. Okay, because if you're doing things and doing the same things day in and day out, and after a while you're not seeing any kind of results, then you do have to have a conversation with yourself, like, all right, what am I doing wrong here? And I just did that this past week. I was like, why am I not getting results on my distressed properties? And so I actually met with two coaches, and they analyzed everything and they straightened me out. And now I'm in the process of changing up my ads on Facebook, my postcards going out, and my workflows that are going after these particular sellers. So there are certain approaches you can take, and sometimes I thought that the postcards I sent were great. I got a lot of compliments on it from people that are in the marketing field and everything like that. But the thing is it was just the wrong message. Okay, so Brian's having some car trouble, and I don't know. Did you guys see that in the chat? Okay, he'll jump on as soon as he can. That's cool that he can chat without having sign on. Good. So I guess we fixed the problem with the chat. Chat seems to be working for everybody, so that's good. Um, so let's start with some wins this week. You know what? I'll go ahead and start you off. So you take a minute and think about your wins and what you want to share. But I'll tell you what, my win, my probably my big win for these two previous weeks is teaching the surefire ways at the FAMP Expo a week ago Thursday, and then I taught core law on Friday. And for Florida Realtors. And I'll tell you what, I was so energized and had such great responses that what it's done is it's lit a fire under me to say, okay, you know what, I can still go into retirement, but I want to continue doing my teaching and my training and my mentorship because it's just it's something I have a passion for, and so that really that's a huge win for me. So anybody and your win doesn't have to be a huge win. It could be a small win that is something that you can be incremental that you can build upon. So who wants to share? Anybody?
I'll go.
Come on. All right, Beth.
All right. My win, or if you will, I don't know if it's a win, but appreciation is for repeat customers. I think loyalty is earned, trust is earned, and I think that a lot of our business this year has been repeat customers. So they're we've been doing this since COVID started, and it's beginning to turn the cycle a little bit here. And I just am thankful that whatever we're doing, we are top of mind, and it takes work, and It makes you feel appreciated, and especially when they fight for your commissions. I'm like, yay. So all good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We love to work with people that want to work with us and will watch out for us and can appreciate you know what we do to earn what we earn. So so very cool. Um, who wants to go next? Martha, thanks for jumping on. Just so you know, we're just going around the room here, sharing some wins that we've had for the week. So anybody that wants to go next? All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
I was super excited last week. My boss started this contest to see what reps could get the most new clients. It wasn't a full 2 months, but it was like a month and a half. And I got second place. So I was really excited, and I got like a $250 gift card. So I was
Very
pretty
cool.
pleased. And I would be fine just with the recognition, but the gift card was a nice little bonus. So
Always nice
and
to have a
it's
little
nice to have
bonus.
that feeling and in the slow times right now. So that's good.
What kind of gift card did you receive?
Just a Amex gift card to go do whatever
Nice,
you want to do. Yeah.
nice.
There you go. Yeah, very good. You know, it's funny because we all desire some sort of recognition and acknowledgement for what we do, right? And it was just odd because when I first started with this one brokerage as a managing broker, one of the things they said was they don't do awards. And I'm like, really? We're in the real estate business. We have to be a lot of egos, you know, and it's like so yeah, we need to do awards. And I had actually started doing some awards in my office, but then it did seem to start like probably within a year or maybe even two after I had gotten there. And it wasn't because of me by any means, but that they started to implement some sort of awards for the agents. And I know as an agent, when I was um, super busy and doing well. I mean, I got a lot of accolades, and you know what? I appreciated that. I wanted, you know, it's that wasn't the reason for doing what I did, but it's nice to be recognized. So I think we all crave a little bit of that once in a while. And so kudos to you, Jeremy. That's awesome
Thank
stuff.
you.
All right, who wants to go next? Come on, guys. There's got to be some wins out there. Come
I already shared
on.
mine earlier. Elliot, it's your turn.
So I just got a
Well,
condo under contract that had been sitting for about 190 days. So just finally got that executed yesterday. So that was nice. Condos are such a
very
pain in the
good.
butt.
Yeah, yeah, 190 days on the market, and you know, condos are struggling, and there's just so much to a condo transaction these days that you just can't be too careful, and all the disclosures you got to, you know, provide and and
The
things you
HOA
have to look
fees,
up.
condo fees are like $700 a month. So just it's a tough sell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, condo fees are atrocious these days. It's like they're trying to make up from the past, and then they're also having to rebuild their reserves and you know meet the new standards that the state is requiring. And yeah, I touched upon condos in my law class on Friday, and it's just you know there's just so much to know. I mean, it's like a whole list and yeah, I feel like do we talked about condos on a Monday this month, didn't we? Yeah, okay. All right,
Last
cool.
week.
Yeah, well, was it last week? See, my mind is shot. I lose track from week to week, but all right, well, good for you, Elliot. That's awesome news. And Cindy, I know you shared, but it was before everybody was on, and it was before we started recording. So go ahead and just give a quick share again of your win.
I have a house today that has an inspection. The property was contingent upon the appraisal, so we passed the appraisal. The appraiser was nice enough to send me a text and said, "You're gonna be okay." That was
Okay.
very appreciative at, 10 o'clock at night the other day. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
helpful. And yeah, the buyer's been a little difficult, but he's been going around for about 5 weeks, offering over $100,000 less.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
then okay, the seller's gonna take this, and then still low. And then you're arguing with the realtor. You're like, what's the difference here? It's 10 grand off. They already said they were gonna take this. What's the problem
Yeah.
here? Anyway, you stick to your guns. The seller is thrilled. They're already recommending you. Anyway, so, and yes, I do have another property that I have a listing. It's in Eustis, pretty far away. I did call the MLS that our MLS does advertise or is part of the Lake County. So
Yep.
I can promote it, advertise it, market it. And she found me in her husband's database because he was an investor. And I guess he said I don't know what he said, but he had some nice things to say. He's passed away, and she contacted me and asked me to sell the property that he has in Florida. They're in New York.
Well, that's great. That's
That was
great.
nice.
Yeah, and our MLS goes quite a distance out. So goes pretty far to the north, to the west, and down south here. It goes beyond where we are. It goes down through Punta Gorda. So very good. Good wins. Dagmara, you got a win this week.
Yes, actually, I'm super excited after working with one of our clients for a very long time that we have a listing appointment this week.
Oh, that's
Very long
great.
time.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good news. That's yeah, you'll do great. You'll do great. Let me know if you need any help. Be happy to help you with that. And yeah, kudos. That's, yeah, sometimes it's just our jobs or our businesses do require a lot of patience. It's just, we do things. In fact, I was disappointed because, 5 years ago, I met a buyer, and I've kind of stayed in contact with him over the years. And I saw an opportunity for him to buy a model home with a lease back. And so I sent it to him, and he's like, "Oh, thanks a lot, Paul. Yeah, we were in Winter Garden in August and we bought a house." And I'm like, every time I talk to him, his final response was, "Yeah, we'll let you know when we're coming back to town." And boom. So look, this happens. This is the way our business works. You win some, you lose some, but it takes time for things to develop. So this is a guy that 5 years of steady contact, and properties being sent to him via the portal. And so you just never know. But kudos, Dagmara, you got somebody that you worked with for a while, and they're coming back around, and you might start finding that happen a lot more as you've worked with a lot of people over the time that are just still sitting back and waiting. They might start coming out of the woodwork. So good for you. Martha, you got any wins you want to share? Martha, you there? Doesn't look like you're muted, but we don't hear anything. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get going here with what I've got. As I said, we're putting the push on. We got to start creating momentum for ourselves as we head into the fourth quarter. We're no longer, I used a football reference before, but we're no longer in that whole season anymore. We're in the fourth quarter, and champions are made in the second half. And so, the third quarter is what it is. It's coming to an end, but man, we've got to go to our fourth quarter. And Martha just put in the chat. All right, people are buying. Got 2 under contract. Awesome. That's a great win, Martha. Way to go. Appreciate you sharing that with us. All right. Yeah, if there's issues with microphones or whatnot, now that we got the chat working, let's go ahead and make use of it. You're welcome, Martha. So now what you do now is actually going to determine how your 2026 begins. And I know that's a hard thing to grasp sometimes, because it's like, wait a minute, I've got things I got to take care of now, and going into the fourth quarter, but the holidays are coming, and I got all this stuff planned, and But at the same time, look, some agents take the concept of, well, buyers don't do anything around Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays and everything. I'm like, no, that's not true. Maybe you have a lot less people actually looking, the ones that are more of a, they're looking, but they're just not that serious yet. They don't have to make a change. But I have had some tremendous fourth quarters. I have worked through Thanksgiving weekend. I have worked through the week between Christmas and New Year's, showing property or just having last minute closes before before January 1, because people that wanted to make sure that they got closed and it counted in this tax year versus next year. They were seriously looking. They wanted to buy. So it just all depends. You have to start lining those people up now in order to see that these are people that you're going to be working with coming coming soon. So what I want to do is I want to know, and I want you to put this in the chat. How many closings do you want in quarter 4? Okay. There we go. All right. We got three, but I'm happy with 2. I don't know how hard I really care to work. So Martha wants 4. That's great. Jeremy's looking for 90. Okay. What's your usual, Jeremy? Because we really have no idea how many typical closings you would have in a quarter.
Yeah, so mine's different than your guys's. I wish I could just do
Right.
3.
Yeah.
No, so when the getting's good, like previously earlier in the year until July, I would have about 35 a month, which is good.
Okay.
It's typically slower the fourth quarter, so I'd be happy with 30 a month. So that's where I get the
Okay.
90. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I want to be realistic, but I don't want to shoot myself in the foot though either. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And we got some 4. We got Dagmara wants a 4. One. Cindy, what do you mean one depends on the price point?
I'll take a couple $1 million house if I can sell it.
Okay. All right. That's fine too. Look, you can set your goal on dollar value, or you can set your goal on units. The idea is to keep your eye on the prize, right? Um, and just, think about what do you have to do to get those closings that you want. Okay. What do you think the number one thing is that you have to do? You got to start by having conversations.
Mhm.
Okay. So, for us, we've got to have conversations with buyers and sellers. Jeremy, you got to have more conversations with agents, and create those relationships with them. And Valerie says, communicate. Yeah, communicate. Absolutely. And that falls into, building relationships with people. So, they remember who you are. Just guy worked with me 5 years. This is the second time in my career that I've worked with somebody for that long, only to lose them because they came to town and didn't tell me. So this happened to me back in the 2000s, and worked with these people for a long time. Worked with them to get their 1-bedroom condo remodeled, right, so they can get it ready to sell, and they were looking to upgrade to a 3-bedroom. They would always let me know, coming to town this weekend, we'd like to see some properties. Great. All right. I'd line it all up. And one time they came, they didn't call me, and they walked into an open house and they bought that particular unit. That agent double-sided that and then listed their condo for sale. Then I never heard from these people again. So, look, it happens. And this is where, you have to just make a business decision for yourself on, how you're going to work with people moving forward. So, so we want to make sure that you're walking into 2026 with a lot of confidence and no regrets on not having done what you need to do. So we've talked about how many closings you want in quarter four. In order to get those particular number of closings, how many people do you think you need to talk to and have conversations with in order to meet that number? I put mine in there. 200, yeah. That's, that's not far off. Anybody else? And I know I've shared my spreadsheet with you guys a while back, most of you anyway, where you can calculate up how many conversations you need to figure it out. Valerie says a lot. Yeah, yeah, yep. It does require a lot of conversations. And there are calculations you can use to determine this, based on the law of averages. I remember the first time I ever went to see Tom Ferry, and he had given me the count, how many buyers I needed to be working with to close one, how many sellers I needed to get one closed. And I was like, man, and when I went back home, and I started looking at how many people I've been working with, how many people I got on the contract and closed, and I'm like, man, his numbers were like really there with what I was doing. And so that made me a believer in that I got to watch that number, right? I've got to count. And that's where that spreadsheet came in. And look, if you guys don't remember having it or whatnot, I could dig it out and send it to you so that you can put it into use, because this was the biggest part of my business plan. And it was just a great way to calculate everything. In fact, the one I has a 6% royalty fee in there because I got it from Coldwell Banker many, many years ago when I first started. But I've had ChatGPT do it for me, and I know I got it somewhere. I just never tested it to see if all the calculations were correct. So, but I'm not going to share that with you guys because you need to work through these numbers. Now, I noticed that we're still missing people on how many conversations you need to have to meet your goal, but you gotta know. If you don't want to share it, that's fine, but you need to know this for yourself. All right. I'm having you put these numbers in the chat so that we can hold each other accountable. Each week we can roll back to the chats from the previous week and say, okay, where are you at with this? All right. So the big thing is, it's the daily discipline, and that you got to look at the daily discipline versus the big promises, right? The big picture. It's small hinges swing big doors, and that's how we work. It's just every incremental win that we have. Okay. And that win doesn't have to be a closing. That win could be, hey, you know what? I had 10 conversations today and I got one appointment. Great. Or maybe I had 10 conversations today. I didn't get any appointments, but I did have 2 conversations, or made 10 calls and had 2 conversations. Because actually it might take 20 or 30 calls to have 1 conversation some days because nobody's picking up phone, right? So that shouldn't stop you from doing it. I know it's tedious. I know it's a royal pain. You get tired of just leaving voicemails, but what you have to do is continually look for having an effective voicemail and maybe following that up with an effective text message, okay, that compels somebody enough to want to give you a call back. All right, because you got to remember that, look, we're working, we're reaching out to people, they're busy, they might be working, they got things going on in their life, right? I know I've got somebody that keeps coming after me and I keep sending them the voicemail. And there's some days where, he catches me, I might be in the car, I'm not talking to anyone else on the phone. I'll answer that call. Okay, because it's a little bit more convenient. But when the call comes in and I'm trying to focus and do something, I'm like, nope, voicemail. Because he's already interrupted my flow, but I'm not going to pull myself away this is, because I got to stay disciplined in the things that I'm doing. Now, if I recognize the name and it's currently somebody I'm working with, yeah, I'll stop what I'm doing. I'm going to pick that call up because they're reaching out. So I don't want to play phone tag, but that's important enough for me to stop what I'm doing and interrupt my flow. But other than that, I don't want to be interrupted, because every time you get interrupted with what you're doing, it could take 15, 20 minutes to get back into that, right? Especially if you're in the zone. You don't want to be taken out of that zone. So you want to focus on the controllables. All right. What are the controllables? I'm talking about calls, text, face-to-face meetings, your social posts, your video consistencies. Videos are so important. You guys make sure that you're working on videos. You're putting them in the reels. You're putting on YouTube. Look, if you don't have a YouTube channel, it's not too late. It's not, because this is the wave of the future. All right, you need to be able to get those videos done. But the database touches. There's gold in database. This has been a saying forever. As we keep loading people into the database, it's so important for us to keep up with them. We can create all the workflows we want. Some are more effective than others, but the reality is, if we don't call and touch them, it's going to be really hard to capture them and stay in front. But it's the next best thing, is to have that workflow going so that you're somewhat staying in front of. But you gotta reach out by phone, and you gotta have a personal conversation with them at some point or another. So, but it's so important, so important. So, what's another important thing about making these calls and just working in this business? Burnout comes from chasing outcomes. Okay. Energy comes from committing to actions. Actions create motion, and the motion creates motivation. So you want to take action. You want to be able to, commit to the actions necessary. And so that's why you want to do the heavy lifting first thing in the morning. That's why I do this call at 8 a.m. so that by 9 a.m. you guys can go out there. Hopefully you've got some sort of motivation to go out and then make your calls and get things set up. And the same thing with being on a Monday, right? We want to help you get set up for the week, do what's necessary so that you can win the day, win the week, and then you can win the month. When you win the month, then you can win the quarter, and so on. Okay, so you've got to be able to do that, and you do that through master your mind. If you don't master your mind, your mind will master you. And we all know what happens in our minds, right? Yeah, we tend to stir some things up that maybe there's fear. Maybe there's the fear of missing out. Maybe there's the fear of rejection. And sometimes that takes and that causes us to stop doing what we need to be doing. So it's so important to keep your mindset in order so that you can do the things that you need to do. So identify the story that you're telling yourself. I'm aware of what I do, how I do it, what my mind says. So when my mind is telling me something and it's not aligned with what I want for my outcome, I have to stop myself and say, Paul, you know what? Let's focus on this, not that. Or more importantly is, Paul, shut up and make the calls. Because I have the same dialogues in my head. When I go to make calls, I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's too early. Oh, wow, maybe they're at lunch. Oh, maybe it's dinner time. No. You know what? Sometimes it's hard to commit to, okay, from 9 to 10 a.m. every day, I'm going to make my calls. Well, sometimes other things come up. You got a home inspection, you got other things, developing, so you can't do it then. So you have to make time in your day later on. And, maybe it's at 3 o'clock, maybe it's at 5 o'clock. But the reality is that you can't let something else stand in your way of doing the most important things to do for your business. So you got to think about what a 1 degree shift will do for you. That's why, this shirt, I love this shirt, 1% better every day. You got to keep incrementally doing a little bit to make yourself better, to make your business better, to do more of what you're doing that's working, analyze and track, because the more you can analyze and track what you're doing and you see things that are not working, you can cut that off and do more of the things that are working. So, who you got to anchor in purpose. Who are you working for beyond yourself? Okay, this falls into your why. Okay, most of us have families or something that we're shooting for that's deep in our why. And I know we've run through these exercises before, but you got to look at your why and your why as well. I just want to make a lot of money. Well, okay, well, what is that going to provide to you? And why do you want that? So you gotta dig deep, go several layers down, like peeling back the onion, right? So to be able to determine, the depth of your why, because that's what's going to keep you moving, right? That's what's going to ignite the fire of your desire. So it's really important. And replace to-do lists with must-do lists. Okay, there should be 3 critical moves daily. We all have our to-do lists, right? And I work with those too. And it feels good when you can cross off, but you got to categorize them. Okay, you got to have your top 3 must-dos at the top of your list. And those are the things you must focus on first. Okay, because you get those things done, man, that's the heavy lifting usually. That's the big stuff that's going to make an impact. Okay, all this stuff can wait. So it's really important to stay focused on that. So here's another challenge for you. I want you to write down one high impact action item that you'll do today. If you want to share it in the chat, fine. If you want to just write it down in front of you, that's fine too. Okay. If you put it in the chat, it's easier for all of us to hold each other accountable. All right. There we go. I'm going to make 10 calls today. I'll squeeze in somewhere. I've got several different things set up throughout the day today, but I'm going to commit to making 10 calls. And it seems like 10 calls is, oh, well, that's nothing. No, that's still a lot until you start building up. If you haven't been consistently making calls, start with 1. Okay. Then maybe go to 2, then go to 5. You can build up incrementally, because you get to the point where as you're doing these, you blow through 10 or 20, and the next thing you know, it's like, man, I'm itching to do 5 more. Because now you've created a habit for yourself. So now you're starting to do it without even thinking about what you're doing. Okay, that's when it becomes really easy, because if you don't have to think about it, it's like you're on autopilot. And I love when I get to that point, when I get super busy in this business, I get on autopilot. I don't even have to think about things, and I just start getting things accomplished. And man, that's when it really feels good. Because I didn't drain myself with all that self-talk and thought. I didn't have time to think. All I had time for was to do. All right. And that's what's really important. That's why we're the DoCrew, right? You got to be a doer. So that's really important. And the reason we share it, and I want you to share what you can in the chat, is because it's just like when you speak it. When you speak it, you commit to it. All right. When you share with others, it's like increasing that level of commitment that you're making to yourself, because now you've shared that. What if you come back to me later and say, hey, did you meet your goal? And then it's like, oh God, no, I didn't even start it. Then your accountability is out the window. So you want to be able to, set up some prompts for yourself. Just little reminders. You can use sticky notes. You can use sticky notes on your screen, right? Just line them up. Okay, here's some people I need to follow up with, or clients maybe that you've been avoiding, that you need to touch, but you also know that maybe, when you call them, you can't get off in less than 20 or 30 minutes, right? We all know we got people like that in our database. And every time we call and they're the ones that always answer, but then they also keep you on the phone for a long time because they got so much to say. But you still have to, touch base with them. Send out 5 personal texts just to check in. Okay. Make it a check-in. Just say, hey, just hadn't talked to you in a while. Just want to see how's everything going. And, maybe we can set up a time to get some coffee, anything like that. Just, set it up. Put up a reminder for yourself to send those 5. Okay. You can dictate that in your phone. You can have the dialogues, the text scripts ready to go on one of those post-it notes on your laptop, and just copy and paste it in there, but just personalize it to whoever you're sending it to. All right. Record a 60-second video for for Instagram or Facebook, or better yet, record a 30-second or less video and send it via text. Now it's personalized. Now you're saying, hey, hey, Paul, I just, was thinking about you and just want to say hello and let you see my face again because we haven't seen each other in a while, and have a wonderful day. Boom. It's been a while since I've gotten one of those type of texts, but you know what? I've gotten a bunch of them in the past, and they're so effective. It puts a smile on my face when somebody thought of me and they sent me a personalized message like that. That is very cool. Okay. So do something like that. If you do it for Facebook and Instagram, I mean, that's just a general going out to everybody. But, the more you can personalize it for people, and I know that there's programs out there. Okay. There's AI programs where you can do that. You can create a video and then enter in like, okay, I want this going to Paul. I want this one going to Steve. I want this one going to Joe, and so it'll have you speaking each person's name, and then the rest of the message just follows. So you can do that with AI and let it rip. So the consistency of doing things every day will compound over time. And that's why I've always told agents, look, you just keep doing enough of the right things day in and day out, things are going to start happening. I don't care. It's just, I have seen it happen for me. I've seen it happen for others. And it's happened time and time again for me. When I get to a point where it's like, oh my God, I got nothing on the books. I haven't been making my calls. Now it's like, okay, Paul, let's get back to work. Let's start doing these things. And all of a sudden something comes in out of left field. Wasn't what I was working on, but something happened. Something came in. And I believe that to be energy that we put out to the universe, and the universe is given back to us because, again, we're doing the right things. So and remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, you're gonna waste a lot of time on trying to perfect that video. Like, I created a video. Oh, I didn't like the way I looked. Oh, I didn't like the way my mouth moved. Oh, I slurred a couple of words. Oh, no, don't worry about it. That is real and authentic. You look back at some of my older videos, man, I was walking into doorways and walls, and it was real. Okay. And so the idea is to be consistent and persistent. I used to always say, persistence, patience, persistence equals perseverance, because you got to have patience, but you got to stay persistent, and you will persevere. So, so here's what I want to do, for a challenge. What will you do this week that your future self will thank you for? Okay. And that's been our focus here all morning is what will you do this week that your future self will thank you for? And if you want to put it in the chat, feel free. Oh, Cindy, you put in the chat, you wanted to clean your CRM and expand your sphere of content. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's great. And yeah, I'm going to make my calls. Cindy's only going to do what makes money. Brian's going to follow up on your leads. What, um, yeah, Martha commented, Cindy, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, look, there's gold in our CRMs, in our databases, right? But we got to work them. And it's hard. My database has grown. I got, I don't know, 7,000, 8,000 people in my database. And this goes back. I've lost a lot of my old people that I used to work with, but there's still a lot of them in there because over time, changing CRMs, things have dropped, things just didn't carry over, whatever the case might be. But I'm going to do something to hopefully re-energize what's in there. And one of the things I learned, I did this last year. I sent out a survey, and I mean, it went out to, I think, about 2,000 people. It probably got a dozen or so responses. That's okay. That's okay because I got response, I got engagement. So now I can talk to them. And I just simple survey. It was, like, do you plan on buying? I'll have to dig it out. It's still there in my CRM. I forget exactly what it said, but it's basically just real simple survey. It wasn't an extended survey. This was not one of those take 5 minutes and fill this out. This is like just simply answer. The form was simple and told me whether they were looking to make a change in the coming year. So there was a lot of no, not doing it. There was a couple, yeah, already did. Sorry. And then there was a couple that were like, yeah, planning on doing something. So, those are the people I reach out to. But even the others that responded, even if it wasn't what I needed as a positive response, they responded. So now I want to reach out to them. Even though they're not looking to buy or sell right now or in the coming year, they responded. There's engagement. So let's keep them engaged. All right. That's really, really important. So, what do you, okay, Elliot's going to record 2 videos. Cool. Jeremy's going to make his calls. That's great. So, look, videos are great. And here's what I got. Now, I haven't been doing my videos for quite a while. When I was being consistent, I was growing the number of subscribers and I was growing the number of views that I was getting on my things. And what I have done is I've set up ChatGPT, and I know back in July, I shared with you guys how to set this up. It's changed a little bit. It's actually gotten easier now to set this up. But I just said, hey, look, give me 3 good video ideas that I can do this week. Give me the scripts, give me this, give me that. I told her what I wanted. Every week, I get an email from ChatGPT saying, here's your list 3 videos, right? They throw in a bonus one. I think that's the one where they throw in a bonus where it's a controversial video. And now that we're not talking about a political controversial video, we're just talking about something that will probably generate some dialogue, good or bad, but it will generate some dialogue. So that way you don't have to think about it. You don't have to do a lot of planning and calculating and figuring out. It's done for you. Now all you have to do is now take it, put it into something like Big View, and record your video. Don't worry about making it, and then get it uploaded to social media, get it uploaded to your YouTube channel. It really is simple. And Brian, yeah. Cindy said Brian loves videos. Oh, you love Brian's videos. Yeah, way to go. Yeah, we get Brian's videos, and they're good. He provides a little bit of information. And what you want to do is you want your videos to do that. You want to give information. You want to give something of value that will make people want to watch it. And then when they see it next time, realize that, okay, yeah, I got something good from Paul last time. I'm going to watch this video because there's probably something good in there, right? So you start getting that reputation of providing something of value to people so they look forward to your videos. And if you guys feel that like you need to, look, we can in the upcoming week, we can set up the ChatGPT and just do it live right here. and show you how to set it up, and you could just take it and run with it because it's so important. Your chat GPT can be an assistant. It can do all your social media. I thought about setting up another feed for social media. I might just do that this week and then share that with you next week because some things I learned about social media. You need to post across all your social media accounts, but do not post the same thing across all your social media accounts. You need something different on each account. So if you're posting on Facebook, you're better off not to have it connected to Instagram because you want to post something separate onto Instagram. Okay. You also want to post something on LinkedIn, but you want it to be specific to those audiences that you're doing the video for, and then you want to have that video give something of value. So you can do that, and you can set up a schedule in order to do that, and it will make an impact. But you just don't want to repeat the same stuff because the algorithms pick up on it. Meta owns Facebook, they own Instagram, they also own LinkedIn. So what do you think the algorithm does? They search, oh, this is just, same stuff, repeat, repeat, repeat. Yeah, we're not pushing this to the top, because it's the same stuff. So you want to be able to, do something different for each platform. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, some people will crawl into 2026, they'll be kind of holiday hungover. They didn't do anything in November and December because, they were doing with the holidays. They had the mindset that, buyers and sellers aren't doing anything during the holidays anyway. Oh, it's a bad time to list your property. Nobody's going to come see it. The reality is, the people that come see a listing in November and December are probably serious buyers. So yeah, and it's a great time. Your house is decked out for the holidays. It's a more warm, inviting welcome to buyers coming through your home. Now, some people are like, well, I got to take it off for the holidays. I got too much going on. I don't want people coming through my house. Well, then that's fine too. But then they're become a part of the mad rush in January when everybody's waiting, come on the market. Now, we're going to be inundated with even more listings come January because that's the trend we're in, right? More and more listings are coming on the market. So questions, comments, what do you got? You guys going to hold yourselves accountable for your goal? Everything we talked about here today. This is the time. This is the time. Fourth quarter. It's coming real fast. 2026 is also coming very fast. So we've got to be prepared. We got to take care of things to be taken care of right now. All right. Anybody have anything to add to any of that? Come on, guys. The wheels must be turning. Suggestions? Brian, glad to get to see you on here. Appreciate you popping on. Hope the car trouble wasn't anything serious. Good deal. Good deal. So, all right. Well, Martha says yes. Thank you in the chat. Yeah, guys. So look, we've got some good things coming up. I've got some guests that I'm in the process of lining up that I think will be really important to share and tie into our businesses, whether it's knowledge or things that we can use that will, provide more results for us. So, come on, I want some feedback, please. Give me something here. We got 5 more minutes. I don't want to end early. Nobody, come on. Has anyone tried RoomView? Yes. Auto emails to all platforms with hyperlocal videos. Yeah, I tried RoomView a while back. Was not impressed, not pleased. It really hadn't done anything for me. Look, if you're gonna do videos, you got to do videos with you in it. And I think they might have had something where you can upload everything. I didn't find it effective at all. It didn't get me any kind of engagement. It didn't even get me likes. So, so the number of people viewing my page or my post didn't increase at all. So that was money not well spent. What could be good, there is a platform called realestatecontent.ai. Okay. Um, I like what I saw on that platform. I sat through a webinar. They were given a $200 discount. I don't know if it's still valid or not, um, so they're typically $900 for the year. They were given a $200 discount. 700 is like $699, $698, something like that. So it equates to $70, less than $70 a month, which is not bad for basically somebody. It's AI, but somebody taking care of all your social media. All you have to do is go in there. You can go in like once a month and tell it what you want. Boom. It just automatically sets everything up for you. It will create images and put that in for you. It's just, it truly is a time saver. Having something like that would be huge. That's why I say, ChatGPT, we can set up something similar. And also do that with Canva. And Cindy had connected me to somebody who does that with Canva. However, she can't come on here to show us that. Yeah, she gave me the name of somebody that she learned it from, but I also have somebody else I've talked to that's like a Canva expert. So we're going to get somebody on that will show us how to do it in Canva, because I'm kind of curious too. The more automated we can be, the more we can accomplish.
I'm sorry
All
to
right.
say that I
And
tried
with
the
social media, if you're not consistent, what you're doing is nothing. It really becomes a waste of time. I know, I like to refer to Facebook as wastebook. And if we weren't doing, business on there, I probably would refrain from even going on there because it's really gotten disgusting. But another word I use for it is time bandit. And I try to stay disciplined when I go on there, but it never fails. I'm going on to make a post or do something, and before I know it, I'm down the rabbit hole. And then I realized I've just wasted a whole bunch of time, and so we have to be careful that we have to stay disciplined. But having something like that where it does it for you, so that you don't have to go on those platforms, and it'll cover all of those platforms that we talked about, including TikTok. And if somebody wants to know more about it, be happy to share that after the meeting and give you the code that I had yesterday, so that you can maybe use that code if you want to do it and try to save $200. So yeah, so that is something worth trying, I believe. But it'll be a year commitment, but that price also gets locked in because they also talked about what's coming. I'm like, oh my God. And so with what's coming, you're still locked in. And when they up the price to like $1,500 for the year, you're locked in. So you could be locked in at $699. And I don't have an affiliate link. I'm not trying to pitch this. I just think it's a good program. If you want to really rank as a 10 on social media, this is how you do it. Otherwise, we're all ranking probably 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe, but probably not. I used to be really good at social media until I stopped, and then things started to change. And I feel like I'm always playing catch up with social media, trying to figure things out.
Cindy,
So,
is that the one you're referring to in your
Cindy, you
chat?
tried the social media real estate AI and asked for a refund. Why? What's Tell us about it. Tell us about your experience.
It was a young man that created it, and I complimented him.
Well, hold on, Cindy. I can't hear you. Can
Oh.
everybody else hear her? Oh, hold on.
100%.
Try it now.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Okay. My speaker went off. I don't know why.
Well,
That's weird.
Just like you, we all want to try something new. So I'm glad we're sharing our wins and our challenges. But I like the fact that you could have your own calendar. You could put in whatever you want. You could go on the top and put in, hey, I want to talk about, I found that it was taking me just as long with that program as it would by myself. Because I was even uploading photos of content. I was even trying to use the air content. I said, it's my birthday. The best gift you could do is provide me with a referral. And it kept giving me photos of a bed. And
Well,
then,
they thought you were asking for something else, Cindy.
yeah. And it kept giving me the same content in the sense of, oh, let's focus on brand new buyers, new buyers, new buyers. I work, honestly, in my whole career, I've worked with one new buyer.
Yeah. Okay.
So if it's just keeps pushing out the same platform. Anyway, I told the young man who created it, I said, kudos to you, man, but it still needs some work.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Yeah, Kyle. Kyle's the one that developed it. He's the one I sat on the webinar with. I was actually the second time I've sat on the webinar for that that platform. So I definitely thought it was cool, but okay. Well, that's good to know. Because we have, within our CRM, we have a platform we can do all that. Um,
And just do
it
it.
seems like it would take a little bit longer than what his platform showed, but again, he knows it inside and out, so he can whip it out in 10 minutes. Where people like us, we go in once a month and we have to relearn it. And so it will take us a lot longer.
I had a
So,
banner and my banner was missing items. We'll put it back on. It never did. So I just said, I want a refund. I'm sorry.
okay.
With additional tools. Anyway, sorry, because I was hoping for that too. It sounded pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it does sound pretty fantastic. So look, I think there might be other platforms out there too. So, but look, AI is in its infancy. And you have to remember that, billions of dollars are being thrown at AI constantly. But what's going to happen is, well, actually, MIT, what was the statistic? It's like 85% are failing, and the people with the big bucks, they just keep buying up the little guys. It will eventually iron itself out. They question whether AI is in a bubble or not. Um, yeah, I mean, look, the internet, when the first internet started, it went crazy. Everybody's in, everybody making big money. All of a sudden, there was a bubble and it burst, but the internet's still here, right? AI is not going anywhere. But what's going to happen is that, the weaker players are going to leave, and then the bigger, stronger players are going to survive, and they're going to keep coming out with bigger, better things. So you do have to be careful where you invest your money into things that are AI, but it's got capabilities of doing so much. So you've got to invest in that and learn it and put it to use for yourself. All right, Jeremy. Oh, he's gone. Jeremy had to run. So, all right, guys. Well, look, anything else for the good of the cause before we go? Appreciate you guys on here. Elliot, if you want to hang out for a minute, I'll talk to you, okay? And guys, I'll see you all next week. Appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, let me stop the recording. There we go.